Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. We are glad to see everyone here for our October meeting. 2 more meetings for the year. Seems like it's moved pretty quickly, but glad to see another October, and the weather is starting to cool off a bit. So again, great to see you all. So thank you for being here. At this time, we're going to do an invocation. I'll ask Mr. Hinkle if he wouldn't mind doing an invocation, which would be followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. At the time we do our pledge, I would ask everyone to stand and recite our pledge with us. So at this time, I'll ask Mr. Hinkle if he wouldn't mind giving us an invocation.
Bow our heads, please. Dear Lord, we ask that you extend your blessings upon this August meeting this evening, that you guide and direct this council in what we say and do, and that is pleasing in your sight and is in the best interest of the town of Troutman and its citizens. We ask you be with those that are less fortunate and bring them back to good health, peace of mind, if it be thy will. We ask that you extend your countenance and blessings across the world with the conflicts that are going on and the deaths that are occurring, that you bring a quick resolution to all conflicts, that peace and love and joy may return as it be your will. Anything else that you see that we have not asked for, that you feel we need, we ask that you please grant it to us. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for your participation. Council, you have your agendas in front of you. We will follow along our agenda. If there are any amendments or additions to the agenda by council, please let me know at this time.
Mayor, I make the motion that we remove, under old business, we remove items, or line 14 and line 15, annexation request AX 2305 and rezoning request CZRM 2302 at the request of the applicant, who has withdrawn the application for both of these requests.
Okay. Any other council amendments? Staff, Mr. White, any?
No, sir.
Okay. If there are no other amendments, we will proceed with our agenda at this time with removing of item 14 and 15 from the agenda. Council, if there are no other amendments, I'll accept the motion to approve our agenda as amended.
I will make that motion, Mr. Mayor, approving our agenda, removing items 14 and 15.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. This time we will approve our consent agenda. These are items that will be approved with one vote unless a council member requests that an item be removed and placed on the agenda. We've got minutes from our September meetings, as well as approvals of a DRB facade review, a high-density permit for Tractor Supply, a high-density permit for Troutman storage, as well as a resolution for discretionary funding from CRTPO, and resolution for accepting state grant funding for a sewer collection rehabilitation and an annexation request, setting the hearing date for November 9th. Is there a motion regarding our agenda, consent agenda?
So I'll make the motion that we adopt our consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is made, received the second, that we approve the consent items as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is a recognition of Mr. Cruz as our Town Employee of the Month. I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'll turn it over to Austin Wall, the Interim Director of Public Works.
Good evening. Jonathan started April 10th and actually applied for the job as Parks and Rec technician. In their interview, it was decided that the town may have a better fit for him than in the Parks and Rec. At the time, the Public Works was trying to keep up maintaining the town's ever-growing fleet, and it just so happened that Jonathan was a master mechanic for a local dealership. It worked out that he would become the first full-time mechanic with Troutman. He brought his own tools and started, and it was basically left up to him on how he wanted to proceed in making sure all the town's mechanical needs were met. Since then, we have added even more vehicles, now totaling 43, and equipment, 15 large pieces, on his plate. He has exceeded expectations and has found plenty of ways to save money, save the town money, and also alleviate downtime for equipment. He has found and added much needed equipment and programs to make sure all vehicles are running on top notch and safely, such as the all data program that lists out every spec for every vehicle. Jonathan also has taken over maintenance of the town's 17 generators. He comes to work every day with a smile and a great attitude to better the town. He is always ready to help out in the field. And this last Monday, or this past Monday, he helped the guys out there weed eating. So anytime he finds downtime, when that happens, somehow always finds time to cook up new concoctions for us to try at each employee meal as well. He's got some pretty good stuff. For that, Jonathan is the September's Employee of the Month.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Jonathan. Thank you.
I was gonna say the same thing. Where's our food coming?
If you will, turn around there with the council behind you for a few pictures. Who would have ever thought that you could smoke Cheetos, but he has showed us that they taste great.
Interesting. Well, I was told to make sure Jonathan knows that council's waiting for their dinner as well, so.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah. Thank you again for all you do and in support of the town. It's much appreciated by the council and the citizens, so thank you. The next item on the agenda is, again, a recognition of a couple of our employees, as we're calling it, Good Samaritan Action. First, David Kenworthy and Mac Sutton. These two employees are being recognized for their quick actions. On September 21st, David and Mac were out working and came upon a young male child running through traffic on Highway 21. They stopped their vehicle and got out to help him as they felt like he was in harm's way. They were able to get him out of harm's way before calling our finest, Troutman Police. The young boy apparently had wandered away from his home And by their fast actions, they saved him from possibly a very bad outcome. The Troutman Police Department arrived and found out where the young man resided and helped him back to his parents. The town of Troutman is lucky to have such caring employees who want to make a difference in the community. These, again, are two of our public works employees, and we personally would like to thank them for not just what they do every day, but the fact that they were able to step up and see a situation that could have really turned out in a very bad way. So I'd like to have them two come up and present them with a certificate as well.
Mr. Mayor, Mike could not be here. Mike had a previous scheduled engagement and couldn't be with us tonight.
This way.
Suck it in.
I'm totally sorry, sir. Thank
David, please let Mac know as well. Again, we appreciate all that you all do every day, but also in this situation, it's much appreciated, so thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, before we move on,
Yes, sir.
there may have been some folks to show up for items 14 and 15 that are no longer on the agenda. Also, with all the folks here for the recognition, if you don't mind giving a minute, if any of them would like to exit, it would be perfect timing before we get into the meat of the business.
Absolutely, thank you. You all are welcome to stay. I'm sure this will be more entertaining than probably something that will be on TV tonight, but you're welcome to leave at this time.
He wants to stay.
She's ready to give up. We had one citizen who didn't want to go, so that's great to hear. The next item on our agenda is our couple of standing committee reports. First is a report on the J. Hort Hayes Memorial Troutman Library. And this was deferred from our September meeting. Our library manager, Ms. Hicks, welcome. Good to see you.
Sorry about last month. Things kind of came up. This kind of goes back from like May to September, or from May to September, sorry. Just that we're still having our in-person programs where we have the toddlers have story time on Tuesdays and the preschoolers have story time on Fridays, both at 11. We also always have a teen activity once a month, the second Thursday of the month at 4, and that varies depending on what it is. We also have been starting a kind of a monthly activity for kids with their parents. We've done anything from like a trivia night, we call it night, but it's at 4:30. We close at 6. But doing a trivia night, we do a game night or what have you, and then we also sometimes every couple of months we do a family book club where the parents and the children read the book, and then they come in and we play a form of Jeopardy. We serve them pizza. They have a blast, and ours is just growing leaps and bounds. I'm not going to say anything about that place that's on up the road a little ways towards Statesville. Theirs isn't doing as well as ours. Troutman's awesome. We still have adult programs. We have a Pinterest craft program. We have a book club. We have coloring. And we're hoping to get a few more things. We're kind of working on those. The kids, in the past 5 months, we've had 84 programs for just the kids with over 2,200 people in attendance. And during that time, we've had 9 programs for the teens. It's harder to get them in there, but we're working on it. With almost 90 kids coming, and the adults had 20 programs with over 200. We have almost 1,000 people in the past 5 months using our computers for public use who don't have a computer or what have you. And our overall, what we call our door count, was over 33,000 for those 5 months. So, needless to say, the 4 of us who worked there, we're busy. We had our summer reading program that all ended in the first part of August. We had a lot of people who participated. We had over 3,000 what we call take and make, little craft things for them to take home. Had over 3,000 of those sent home. We had a lot of kids, or people, everybody, parents, adults, everybody, turned in reading logs, and they all got to be entered for prizes. And in all the age groups, Troutman at least had 1 winner, if not more. We're also going to be starting a Saturday story time for a little bit kind of older kids, but not like babies. The 3rd Saturday of the month, and it'll be held by Katie Bradley, our program specialist, and she's going to do stories, she's going to do crafts with the kids, and maybe a little something else depending on what her topic is. That's why she kind of doesn't want to have the toddlers, because they don't cut well and all that stuff, you know. We're going to participate with the ESC park for the Halloween thing, and we're working on some special treats that might be book related, possibly, to hand out to the kids. Hopefully they'll like it. We'll also be in the Christmas parade again, and we will be having our holiday party on December 7th. I know it's Pearl Harbor Day. From 4 to 6, and we will have the Monday Night Pickers, giving our background music again because it was awesome last year and the public seemed to like it. Once again, our numbers were higher than that place up the street, but don't worry about it. We've been trying really hard to make the library more inviting and useful for everybody that comes in, and sometimes we have to move things around, but we've been trying to give them plenty of good signs so they know where everything is, because shifting is one of our favorite things to do. We do get a little loud in there, so if you're looking for a place to study or work, well, you can come, but bring headphones, because we like for the kids and the programs to have a good time. And I am happy to announce that we have the same staff now for over a year. And in this day and time, that's an accomplishment. We all love that library. We want to do everything we can for the patrons, but we also are extremely blessed to have several adult volunteers that come in regardless, several days a week sometimes, and we could not do it without them. They shelve all of our books. They take care of all the stuff that, you know, Statesville has paid shelvers. We don't, and we couldn't do it without these people. So that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Hicks?
Sounds like you're hopping.
Yeah. Great, thank you. The next item on our agenda is our ABC store update from Mr. Getzinger. It is great to see you.
Thank you. It's good to see you too, Mayor. I appreciate it. And
Great.
thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight to bring you the results of our first quarter, end of our first quarter. And just on the front end, I'd just like to say thank you on behalf of the other board members, Wes Edmonston and Kim Cavan, and also General Manager Evelyn Walls for this opportunity. And the first item is that we did receive a clean audit, clean finding on our audit, and so we're good to go for the future. And the other good news is we will be receiving our Christmas order on November the 6th, which is a rather large order this year. So anyway, that's going into the recap and forecast. We we budgeted $3,007,000 in revenue for this coming year. And as of the first quarter, we had a modest increase over last year's first quarter. This quarter, we had $803,414 in revenue. That's up about $50,000 over last year's first quarter. And broken down, last year's first 2 months of the first quarter, revenue sales were down from the year previously for those 2 months. This year, they're up by 8%, 8.5% in July, 5.6% in August and September. So even though it's only just $50,000 in a difference in sales, our net profit for the quarter was only $3,000 more than it was last year. We had $57,457 in net profit this year, which is 7% of our sales, which is what we've averaged really since we've been open, is about 7% of sales year over year. So it's we're just, you know, steady as she goes. But in month of August, we had our audit bill that came in, which was about $6,200, I think it was. So there was a couple other bills in you know, outside the normal range. We had 3 payrolls in August, which caused the expenses to be up quite a bit more. And plus, we had for our tenured employees, we had an mid-year pay increase to recognize their longevity and also appreciation for them staying the course with us. And so anyway, our budgeted profit for this year is $145,951, and our net profit for the first quarter was 39% of that. So we're well on our way to hitting our goal there. Distributions for the first quarter will be, $22,700 for the town and its associated entities that share in that. And law enforcement will be getting $3,264, and alcohol and drug education will be getting $4,570. Our inventory at the end of the first quarter is $225,000, which is up about $45,000 over last year. This time, we've been trying through the year to inch up our inventory rather than having to go as we go into the busiest quarter of the year, which is the second quarter, which is Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, which will be a significant bump, hopefully, I mean, as it has been since we've been open in sales. So having that inventory already on hand rather than having that again come in as one big hit in January, so that it knocks gross profit out or net profit out of whack. So we've been able to inch that up and get it to the point where it is. Plus, we're still going to be getting our Christmas inventory, which will take that number up to probably about $275,000. And our current retained working capital is $347,525. That's against a maximum allowed of $618,000, actually $619,000, or 56% of what our maximum allowed is. And that, so we've built that back up from the, Mayor, I don't know if it was last report that we had indicated we had paid the store off, and we use money from the savings account to do that because we didn't want to go into the new store with the escalating interest rates to have 2 debts, one on both stores when we start the process with the second store. So in doing that, we drew down our savings, but we're back up a little over $200,000 in savings again. So between working capital and savings, which savings is a part of that working capital calculation, but we're we're in a good place financially to go into the second quarter, and also to look at, you know, what the future holds for the second store in terms of how that will shake out. Now, that being said, that I do believe that there's some, is that still on the agenda for tonight, or, okay? There, finally, it looks like we're gonna get the property transferred over to the Troutman Planning District. But that, there's, you know, the board hasn't given the green light yet to proceed with the second store. And that's more based on what's going on with the economy, just waiting, kind of trying to get some idea of where things are headed, because we don't want to, if we go into a significant downturn, we don't want to be sitting there with a new store and splitting revenues from off the first store. Just basically flat revenues, but now 2 stores to share it over. But we should know something fairly quickly in regards to that. But the preliminary groundwork that is associated with going forward with the store is things like we've got to put up a sign on the property to indicate that there's a ABC store planned for that location, so that anybody that would be living in the vicinity that would have concerns about that there's a phone number for them that they will be able to call, which we did the same for the store here with nobody concerned about it at that time. And then we also will have to go through the process of having the land annexed and also rezoned to highway business or whatever the right zoning would be for allowing the ABC store. And then we have the business plan. We'll need to, I'm in the process of working on that and submitting that to the ABC Commission for their approval. So that we're probably talking about 6 months of lead lag time in there with all the various things that have to happen. Some things can be working concurrently, but some things have to build on the other, like the sign that goes at the store. There's nothing that can really go on with the ABC Commission until that 30-day timeline has elapsed to give the public the chance to weigh in on that. And just fun facts real quickly. Since we've been over, oh, by the way, we will have finished our 7th year of business by the end of November. So before we get together next, we will have gone into year number 8. But as of the end of September, we've brought in $16,500,000 in revenue, and that's net revenue without sales tax, and but it does include the excise tax and the distributions. And we've at this point have given back $354,751 to the town and its associated appointed entities. $79,300 to the alcohol education and rehab, and $56,700 to the law enforcement, for a total of $490,758 in distributions. That will, and our net profit over that time is $1,098,000. So it's, you know, things are continuing to go in a very positive direction. And with the second store, once we get all that online, we will be in the place to start making the follow-on distributions of what the net is after we've done all the other mandatory distributions and paid our bills. So the future looks bright, and appreciate the opportunity to be here, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Getzinger?
Just one thing, please relay back to the general manager, the rest of the board, and all the employees how proud and what a great job they've done for the town of Troutman and the ABC store, please.
Well, I will be glad to do that, and no doubt Evelyn is probably watching as we speak, so she grades my homework when I come up here.
So, question, the new store, when it comes out, is it going to look like this store?
You plan on having the same front, remember the front
That-
porch type thing?
That's our thought. We've had so many compliments on that design that we feel like that's something that, is an identity people have with the ABC
Yeah, because you look at some of
store.
the others, they're just like a brick fronts and there's nothing to them. This is,
Yeah.
this kind of does stand out. Yeah, that's why I was wondering if you were going to stay with that same theme of the,
Well,
I
that's
was wondering
a-
back when we had the front porch theme or something in
Yeah.
town. We don't want you to go the other way with it.
Right.
It'd be
Well-
natural.
Well, that was why that design is the way it is because of the
Yeah.
tagline that we had at the time that we
Yes.
started the store. The next store will be somewhat larger because we're going to have a central warehousing capability there, which will,
Because you got a longer property back there.
yeah, we've got, it's 7.57 acres, something like that. So we do, but we may be working with the folks that have the land next to us that will, I think is also is a part of this consideration tonight for a detention pond for storm runoff. So we'll both be sharing in that.
Yeah, because you pretty well reached the end of the warehousing. You were able to squeeze out some, but
Yeah.
you need a lot more.
Yeah, we added about, I think, 1,900 square feet on the back of the current store, which we really desperately
Yeah.
have needed since we've done that. So we've grown into that, and hopefully the same will hold true for the other store.
Other questions?
I was, just thinking deja vu, talking about having to put up a sign for 30 days and, mayor at the time, so forth, and all that going on and talking about getting ready to go into 8 years. And,
Yeah.
it was a kind of a thing that we were with a certain amount of trepidation moving into and success we've had and continue to have, and even through some difficult times, so forth. Now we're working on the second store, and it's amazing, and we've had some good leadership in our people with the store and our board of directors, if you will, with the store, and many thanks to them, past and present, and staff and the chairman. So thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. It's
Appreciate that.
Before he sits down, I'd just like to remind you and those that didn't know, that store is not supposed to be making a profit yet, according to the expert that was hired back then, before. But for it to be paid for and money in the bank and ready for a second location, just goes to show that don't believe somebody you hire, especially when they want to compare us to Valdez.
Just a good sign of great leadership at that store. And we put the right people there.
Well,
Well, it's been a team effort, and I tell you, it's been fun. I mean, we've, the town manager will tell you that when we submitted our business plan the first time, as y'all might recall, it got tabled because I had done the finances based on a 7-month fiscal year because we were starting in the middle of the fiscal year, and well, they didn't understand that, and so town manager and I ended up having to go to Raleigh to help them understand what was going on at the next month. And by the time we got there, the guy that had tabled it said, "Oh, I had a chance to drive through Troutman since last month," and he said, "and it is a cute town." He said, "I just really think there's so much potential there that I feel like we need to go ahead and approve this." And, I'm thinking, holy cow, we were sitting there rehearsing how we were gonna, take down the commission, because of all the, we had plates spinning and contracts going, and, didn't see that coming, so that, anyway, but yeah, that was some exciting times.
Yeah. Well, Layden, I know you're humble about it, but again, you've done a lot of work to make sure that happened. And so again, we want to make sure we send our appreciation. And what's your longest tenured employee, or who is that?
Well, Evelyn would be,
Evelyn, yeah.
she and I started working together November the 1st of 2016, so she came on a month before the store opened.
Okay, great.
But I don't know that there's anybody, Eddie was one of our original members, and I'm trying to remember, I don't think there's anybody else left from that group, but
Yeah.
that was a really hard-charging group that got us out of the ground, and again, a lot of fun.
And you spent those 3 years I was on the planning and zoning doing that, chairing that group too.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
were doing that with us.
Well, anyway,
Again.
thank you so much, I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Council, the next item on the agenda is old business. And I believe we've got a few items on there. Item 16 is the first item. I'd like to open this public hearing, and it is a request, DA 2301. The applicant is BBC Wakefield LLC in Barron Springs Home for Children, 774.31 acres that will be developed as Wakefield Village, a mixed-use development with frontage on US 21 Moose Club Road, Duck Creek Road, Barium Lane, and Old Mountain Road. At this time, I will again open the public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request this evening for the approval of a development agreement between the town of Troutman and, and BBC Wakefield LLC in the Barium Springs Home for Children. Just to sort of let everyone know what the authority here is, the state has granted towns the ability to enter into development agreements through NCGS 160D, specifically Article 10. A development agreement is basically a contract between a local government and a developer that specifies the rights and obligations of both parties for a specific project. I also want to point out that our UDO, Article 9, provides a language that outlines the town's authority to enter into development agreements. That state statute 160D does require that towns adopt this language into their ordinance, and I just want to point out that we have done so. Development Agreement 2301 that we're considering this evening includes permitted uses and their densities. A development schedule is a part of this agreement. Transportation improvements, infrastructure is addressed that includes sewer and water capacity reservations. It talks about greenway easements and trails and the timing of those, as well as donation of land to the town for public uses. I also want to point out that all the conditions that were part of the zoning approval that were approved, as well as the concept plan, are part of this agreement. This did go through conditional zoning back in September of last year, and all of that is included as part of this development agreement. Development agreements are typically used as a tool for larger projects. As the mayor stated, this property is over 700 acres. We anticipate that the development will happen in many phases and could take several years to build out. So development agreement is typically a tool used for this type of project. Staff is recommending approval. I want to point out that our town attorney, Gary Thomas, as well as the attorney for the applicant, worked hand in hand to draft this document. Mr. Thomas can address any specifics about the development agreement, as well as the applicant's attorney is here as well. And I'm also happy to address any questions you might have.
Great. Thank you. Staff, any questions for Ms. Hare regarding this agreement? Okay. Anyone here from the public like to comment on this agreement? Okay. Hearing none, does the applicant want to comment or? Okay.
Good evening. Hope you all are continuing to do well. Don't really have any comments, but happy to answer any questions. I think the only thing I would point out in addition to Lynn's explanation is that those conditions and stuff that were approved back in September have not been changed by this document. It kind of recodifies them in an agreement, but does not change any of that. Those things that were, no new lots, no new anything.
Any questions for the applicant? Or is there-
Can you say your name for the
Oh, sorry, Steve Bailey with BBC Wakefield, 7224 Jameson Way, Stanley, North Carolina.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Thomas, any comment?
No comment, we haven't
Thank you. If no other comment, I will declare the public hearing closed. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare and the applicant and our attorney. No other comment. I will accept a motion regarding this development agreement.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor. Make a motion of approval of a development agreement between Wakefield LLC, Barrium Springs Home for Children, and the town of Troutman per NCGS 160D-1001.
Motion is on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any question or other comment? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consideration for a reappointment of Ms. Tanya Bartlett as an inside alternate member of the Planning and Zoning Board for a 3-year term. The current term expired 9/14/23. Mr. Wyatt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tanya Bartlett has been already on the Planning and Zoning Board, has conducted herself professionally in that role, and we recommend that you all consider reappointing her for a 3-year term, which would expire 9/13/26.
You've heard from Mr. Wyatt, counsel, regarding this reappointment. Any question or comment?
I'd like to make a motion that we reappoint Tanya Bartlett as the inside alternate member of the Planning and Zoning Board for another 3-year term.
Motion's on the floor to reappoint Ms. Bartlett to a 3-year term. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Motion is made, received a couple of seconds. I'll allow Kim to decide which one that is. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Ms. Bartlett's not here. She can't ask for a raise or an increase, so we will move right along. The next item on the agenda is the consideration for an annexation agreement between the town of Troutman and the town of Mooresville. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request of 2 parcels noted up on the board. Where the red dot is, those 2 parcels in yellow. The long slender one is the ABC store property that was mentioned earlier by Chairman Getzinger from the ABC. And other than that, that's as straightforward as this. What we requested 2 years ago. You all have the document. Mooresville has already voted and had their public hearing and already voted on it and passed. Our town attorney also looked at the document. And we recommend approval if you all are so inclined.
Thank you. Any comment from Mr. Wyatt on this agreement? Okay.
Good persistence.
Anyone here at the public like to comment on this annexation agreement? Hearing none, I will close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Mr. Wyatt. The town of Mooresville has already approved this agreement and the map. We will now consider approval of ordinance 3123. Is there a motion regarding this ordinance?
I'd like to make a motion, we approve ordinance 3123, an ordinance adopting an annexation agreement between the town of Troutman and the town of Mooresville.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further comment? I would like to say, for the record, I appreciate the folks at the town of Mooresville for working with us to get this agreement, although it's taken a little bit of time, and appreciate town manager and staff for continuing to pursue this for our town. At this time, I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will now move into new business. First item of new business is a annexation request, AX 2307, non-contiguous applicant Jubila Properties LLC, 3.5 acres, just off of Houston Road. The PIN is 4750-174203. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request for voluntary annexation of 3.5 acres. The property owner is Jabula Properties. The property is located at 269 Houston Road. This is a non-contiguous annexation, and staff is recommending approval. The property in question is highlighted in red on your screen. It's in this location here. This is Houston Road. Directly across the street is the Lowe's Planogram Center, just to give you an orientation of where the property is located. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address those, and the applicant is here this evening as well.
Any question for Ms. Hare?
Now, this property is already built, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
Would the applicant want to speak? All right. Anyone from the public like to comment on this annexation request? Okay. I will now close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding this request. We will consider ordinance 3223. Is there a motion regarding this annexation request, this ordinance?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make that motion that we approve ordinance 3223, title and ordinance to extend the corporate limits of the town of Troutman, North Carolina, non-contiguous.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received the second. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item is a rezoning request, RZ 2305, applicant Jabula Properties LLC, 3.5 acres, which is 269 Houston Road, again located on the east side of I-77, and it would be rezoned from Iredell County General Business to Town of Troutman Light Industrial. I will now open this public hearing and turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a rezoning request that is part of the annexation that we just heard. The applicant is Alan Ray for Jabula Properties, who is the owner of the property. It's currently zoned general business in the county. The applicant is requesting the property be rezoned to Town of Troutman LI, which is light industrial. When looking at properties that are annexed, typically, unless the applicant requests something specific, we try to match the zoning as closely as we can to what the applicant already has in the county. I just want to point out that the town's LI and the county's GB are very similar. This is a traditional rezoning, so there's no site plan that's been included or required as part of the application. I want to point out, and Mr. Harris briefly mentioned, that there was a building that's been permitted and constructed on the site in the county. However, access to town utility does require annexation per town of Troutman policy. This is a new policy. This particular property owner began building this building in the county before we adopted that new policy. So he is bringing this into town, even though the building has been constructed, so that he can acquire access to water and sewer. Again, the property is about 3.5 acres in size. It is located there on Houston Road across from the Lowe's Planogram Center. This is a copy of our current zoning map. You can see the properties there in that tan color are the general business zoning in the county. This light purple or purple or blue color, that is property that's in the town that was recently rezoned by the town for the Houston Road Industrial Center. It's zoned CZHI, and then that Lowe's Planogram is also zoned heavy industrial. This is our land use map. All of the properties in the area are shown for heavy industrial, including the subject property. The planning board did review this last month, and they recommended approval. Staff is also recommending approval based on the fact that it is consistent with the future land use map that shows the property is heavy industrial. We feel like the light industrial zoning is consistent with other properties in the area, and the development of the site will be consistent with the character of that area as well. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address those.
Great, thank you. Any comment for Ms. Hare regarding this rezoning request? Okay, anyone here from the public like to comment on this rezoning request? I will now declare the public hearing closed. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding this rezoning request. We will now consider ordinance 3323. Is there a motion regarding this request?
Mayor, I'll make the motion, I'll make the motion that we approve ordinance 3323, titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Iredell County General Business, Town of Troutman Light Industrial, LI.
Motion's on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We will now consider a statement of consistency, and I would ask that you please read the full statement. Is there such a statement?
Yeah.
Rezoning to light industrial is consistent with the 2035 future land use map and the area's current land use pattern. The request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes allowing industrial development in areas of Troutman where appropriate.
There's a motion on the floor to approve our statement of consistency. Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
In opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item under new business is a rezoning request, RZ 2306, applicant Leon Bowens Jr., 42.25 acres, 134 Iredell Avenue, on the north side of Murdoch Road, from town suburban residential to town light industrial. I will now open this public hearing, turn it over to Ms. Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a rezoning request. The applicant is Leon Bowens Jr. The current property owners are Mark and Leanne Payne. The property is currently zoned RS, which is suburban residential. It is in the town's ETJ, so that is town zoning. The applicant is requesting that the property be rezoned to light industrial. This is a traditional rezoning, so no site plan has been submitted or is required as part of this application. And as the mayor stated, the property is 42.25 acres in size. On your screen, you can see the location of the property highlighted in red. This is Murdoch Road, and the property in front here, which I'll discuss in a minute, was recently rezoned by the town. This is a copy of our current zoning map. As you can see, this property here, directly adjacent to the front, is zone CZHI, which was recently rezoned by the town in the last few months. To the west of the property are other properties that are developed and zoned industrial along Murdoch Road. You also have the Walmart Distribution Center located in the vicinity of the site. Behind the property is the Wakefield Village Mixed Use Project. The applicant does intend to bring this property into the North Fork Business Park and make it a part of that development as well. This is the future land use map. It does show the property as employment center and light industrial, which is consistent with the light industrial zoning that the applicant is requesting. The planning board did hear this last month. They recommended approval. Staff is also recommending approval based on the fact that it is consistent with the employment center light industrial land use that's shown in the 2018 strategic plan. The applicant has stated is requesting light industrial, which is a zoning category that's compatible with that land use. This is the end of staff's presentation. If you have any questions, I'm happy to address those, and the applicant is here as well this evening.
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Hare regarding this rezoning request?
I have a question. So if I look at the map, you said that light blue, the big blue here, light purple up here, blue here, lighter blue here. That's the Wakefield development.
That is correct,
Right,
yes.
so that, I do know that typically when we have either heavy, especially heavy industrial, light industrial, and they border a residential zoning, like there's certain setbacks and stuff. I know there's no site plan here, right? So when that, does that apply to the conditional?
It will apply when they bring it to us for site plan approval. That's part of our ordinance requirements, so we will make sure all of that
Okay,
is
so
being.
they'll come for site
Correct.
plan approval. I
Yes,
was wondering at
that's
what
part of-
point will that, perfect, thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Hare? Okay. Anyone here from the public like to comment on this rezoning request? Okay. I will now close this public hearing. Council, you've heard from Ms. Hare regarding the rezoning request. We will now consider ordinance 3423. Is there a motion regarding this request?
I'll make a motion that we approve that 3423, please.
Motion's on the floor that we approve ordinance 3423, titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from Town of Troutman suburban residential to Town of Troutman light industrial LI. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a couple of seconds. Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Next item is to consider a statement of consistency, and I would ask that you please read the full statement. Someone like to make that motion?
Do that, Mr. Mayor. Action describing consistency. Rezoning to light industrial is consistent with the 2035 future land use map and the area's current land use pattern. The request is reasonable and in the public interest as it proposes allowing industrial development in the areas of Troutman where appropriate.
Motion's on the floor regarding our statement of consistency. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is public comments. The public is invited to address the council with comments and concerns. Public is limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers are asked to sign in at the podium and state their name, as well as adhere to Policy 51, which should be at the podium as well, regarding governing comments from the public to the in-town meeting. So is there anyone here who would like to comment or express comments to the council? Please come forward.
My name's David Kennedy, and I want to address the drug problem that they have at Cedar Stump. I talked to them about a week ago. I talked to the bartender and the bouncer, and they were not concerned in any way about what was going on. I've been in there. I've had drugs offered to me more than once, actually by one of the people who here right now. And I can also give you someone, if you want to verify what I'm saying. His name's Steve Moore. His number's 828-244-1656. He will verify what I say, because he was sitting right there. And actually, the person who, when it was offered to me, said he doesn't smoke. And so they know. But this happens all the time. The smell of marijuana blows through there constantly. Most of the problems are coming from that back deck. My suggestion would be to close down the back deck, because that's when out of sight, out of mind, that's where your problems are coming from. And I've heard there's other drugs back there. I've never seen any other drugs. I've just seen marijuana, and I have seen marijuana. That's pretty much all I have to say.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else would like to comment to the council or express any concerns?
Jeremy Shaw. I was here because I was told this was going to be said, so I was like, well, at least I can be here to understand what he's saying. You know, my mother always told me to show grace in situations like this, so I've had the opportunity to talk with each and one of you guys. Y'all got my number. Feel free to reach out. I can explain more on the situation and why this guy's upset. But it's one of those things I really, it's unfortunate. I feel maybe there's more going on in his life than the cedar stump. And, you know, I'm going to pray for him. Hope everything pans out better for this guy. But feel free to reach out. If you don't have my number, I'll make sure you get it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment to council?
My name's Judy Glenn. I work for Jeremy Shaw one day a week, and I'm the canteen manager for the VFW Post 2031 on Wall Springs Road. I know a little bit about David. I met him while he was doing open mics at the Cedar Stone, and he's not a bad musician. But he comes off aggressive at sometimes. And what I can speak about today is in the parking lot, as I was sitting in my car, he came up and started thrusting his finger and yelling at me, "You're making a bad decision." And I said, "Are you threatening me?" He says, "I'm not threatening you." And that's the type of man, he can go off like this at any moment. I've had another incident because I was booking entertainment for the Stump, and it was a new program we were starting, and there was a mix-up with him and another artist, and he became irate on that, and then proceeded to send me a text message on how I need to handle my job. This is back in June. I kept my distance from him since then. Right now, he's applying to become a member of the VFW, and with the way that he's treating me and treating other people in the community, it was very scary for me to be outside, and it makes me question what else is going on in his life that he could try to threaten me for just doing my job. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else here who would like to comment to council?
Hey y'all, my name's Tanya Wood, and I absolutely adore the Cedar Stump Pub. I have been running the open mic night there for the last 5 years at this location here in Troutman, and also at the Statesville location for 3 years. Someone just told me earlier this week, girl, you've been running that thing a long time. I currently hold in my hand, for the first time in my life, an application for a restraining order. And it breaks my heart because I'm all about peace and love through music. I've been a musician for well over 50 years. I'm 54 years old. I've been singing my entire life. My entire family is in the music business, and I don't know if any of y'all know me, but my reputation pretty much speaks for itself. Mr. Kennedy started coming into our open mic recently, and it did not matter how we tried to accommodate his request. It was always met in a negative manner. I was out sick 2 weeks ago, and he complained greatly about me personally to my guest host. I have text messages of things that he said to my guest host that was extremely upsetting to myself personally. And on the following week, when I tried to have a conversation with him about it and address his concerns, he immediately came towards me in a very aggressive manner, and I'm very grateful for the staff that was there because I truly believe there would have been an altercation that had happened at that point by the aggressive manner that he came in. Mr. Shaw has everything on security tape. His staff was top notch. They surrounded me, they protected me personally, and escorted him off of the grounds. And all of this is a rebuttal because he didn't like the way I ran the open mic. It's over a sound issue, and it's sad that all of you all have to take place in this right now when a simple conversation could have happened to rectify all of this. I love my Cedar Stump family. I will be filing a restraining order against Mr. Kennedy, not only to protect me at the Cedar Stump, but I'm a very public figure. I play over 250 shows a year, and I host 104 open mic nights a year. This is the first time I've ever had anyone complain about anything that we do, and we don't sell drugs out of the Cedar Stump Pub. We all about the love. Peace. I out you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to comment to council?
Yes, my name is Ken White.
Sir, please sign in.
Oh, sure.
Those other folks got here early and signed in. You was a little latecomer, just sign in and go ahead.
Okay. That's no problem.
And your name again, please?
Kenneth White.
Thank you, Kenneth.
I am also a musician, singer-songwriter, well known. I have been going this, I just moved here from New York, okay, 3 years ago. And the first person that I met down here was Mr. Jeremy. And then he introduced me to Tanya and asked me to play in his place, and we played there. As long as I've been there, I never had anybody act like that, and seeing where, you know, it's her, Tanya's responsibility when she has people come up to play and have anything that goes on there that's even related to an altercation, it will be stopped right then and there. Because, you know, we go there to have a good time and just play our music so people can listen and love it. And some people just take it to their heart that they think because they're experienced. He is a good musician. He sings well and everything. But he gets a little overbearing with it. You know what I mean? It's, you know, everybody gets a 3-song thing, and you know, once you're done with them 3 songs, you get down and sit down and have a good time. You know, he wants to run the show. And he gets, if he doesn't run the show, he gets a little aggravated. And I seen that, and she had told me prior to that he would be doing that. And I told that he needs to be not allowed in here. Because I don't want no violent people around me. I like to be having a good time, and I come out to have a good time and show people a good time. So anytime you want to come down there and check it out, there's no drugs being sold out of that place. I never once, either place, never once seen anybody sell anything out there. And I'm back and forth through them bars, and everybody just loves me. So, I just want to say it's fabrication. Okay?
Thank you.
And thank you.
Anyone else like to comment to council? Okay. Thank you all for your comments for the council. We will move over to our next item, which is reports from council, and I will start to my far left, Mr. Harris.
Okay. Well, I'd like to take an opportunity to thank police officers, Officer Morales and Detective Jones, for the help they've been giving me on an issue I've had to deal with. You know, I've never really had to deal with any kind of cases like that, or, you know, any kind of police nature, so it's been been kind of nervous for both my wife and I, but they've been so good to help us and get through this, and the town manager for sending me their way instead of trying to go downtown to detectives. So, but the other is, just for people that are interested, know that while I enjoy being around my wife a lot, at 50 years, living in a hotel for about a month gets pretty close then. And next week, I'll finally close on my new house and we'll move in it. So it's been a long, hard battle. It's a little further than it should have been, but I'm now going to get a little bit of space. So it's kind of back when I first started out. I lived in a mobile home, a little small area. But we were young. It was okay. After 50 years, but for a 50th anniversary, I will carry, I'm getting muscles up so I can carry across the threshold to a new house.
Hey, at least you got breakfast, right, at the hotel?
Well, it's almost some of the worst breakfast I believe I've ever had.
Hey,
I leave it there and walking down the street to McDonald's. But I get pretty good coffee.
Should've went to Wendy's.
Anything else?
That's pretty well it. Most of it just for the police. I just wanted to thank them. They really helped a lot.
Ms. Harris?
I don't have a whole lot. Just always want to thank our staff for all the hard work that they do. And I also wanted to say we're coming up on Halloween time, and we hope that everyone enjoys the trail of treats that we always put on. And just everyone, please be safe out there during Halloween season. That's it.
Mr. Now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just want to, myself, Councilman George Harris, and our town manager, Ron Wyatt, attended the Charter Club ceremony of the Exchange Club of Troutman. So just the last week. And also our police chief and Emily Watson, our Parks and Rec director, were in attendance. So I'd like to congratulate the charter members and the incoming officers, and I'm looking forward to them working with the town of Troutman and doing great things for our residents and citizens. I think it's a great organization, and it's going to grow and help our community. So that's number one. And number two, I'd like to thank Senator Vicky Sawyer, Representative Mitchell Setzer, and Representative Jeff McNeely. Would like to thank them for the $14 million grant that they got the town of Troutman, and it will help our infrastructure and our citizens. Also, Gray Mills. But myself, Councilman Harris, and Town Manager Ron Wyatt had a few trips up to Raleigh, and it paid off very well. So it's going to help us. So thank you to those people.
Great. Mr. Archer?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. As I said Monday, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the town manager and the town staff of Public Works dealing with the water issue that we had. That was actually pretty serious in nature, but most people in town probably never even knew that anything happened because of the way that everybody handled it, and I got on top of it and solved an issue that could have been disastrous. But then it turns out most people probably never even knew anything was wrong. So that's just a great job. Would also like to commend the police chief. I tell you, it's one thing, stuff usually crosses our desk pretty quick, and when it crosses our desk and you've already handled it, good work. So I just wanted to say thank you for the work you're doing and keep it up. So thank you. That's all I've got, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Eagle?
Well, one more name to add for the 14 million was Jason Singh. I want to thank him. I know he doesn't represent Iredell County, but he was instrumental in helping Troutman from Lincoln County. So thank him. Also, I was not in attendance at the charter meeting, but I'm glad to see the Exchange Club come in. Ironically, as a 10 or 11-year-old little leaguer in Statesville, I played for that club, Statesville Exchange Club. So at any rate, welcome them to the town and wish them all the success in the world. As always, great staff, and as Lena Harris, Councilman Harris, Council Lady Harris, pardon me, stated, we've got some nice events coming up, especially around for Halloween and so forth. Please, everybody, stay tuned to our website and our Facebook, Facebook, and so for recreational Facebook. so that you can be aware of these events and attend them if you so choose, and enjoy yourself. Looking forward to the upcoming Christmas season, which ironically, I know people think we're getting ahead of myself, but it'll be here before you know it, Christmas parade and all, so please keep those things in mind as well, and if you can, schedule your calendar around some of the events that will be taking place between now and then as well here in Troutman. And I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Great, thank you. So a couple of things, and I'll start with some of the things that have been said. Again, I too appreciate really all that our elected officials have done in Raleigh. And again, I appreciate Mr. Now bringing that up as we shared some of our appreciation for what they did this past legislative session. And you stole my thunder, Mr. Hinkle, because I did have a few conversations with Mr. Sane, who I know fairly well. And again, I appreciate the fact they all kind of rallied around Troutman and really supported us. And Mr. Wyatt having the forethought to get us a representation in Raleigh to ensure that we can kind of shepherd our request through, I think was also important. And again, I think for the town, this is the largest one-time contribution, I believe, from Raleigh that this town has ever seen. So again, appreciate your hard work as well, Mr. Wyatt, in helping make sure that happened. I wasn't able to be here for the Exchange Club or last month, and so I appreciate council covering for me as my wife was having some surgery. And so, again, miss being here, but I was able to watch from afar. And so, again, I appreciate, again, you all continue to carry the torch and make sure that our town continue to move forward. I did get a chance to talk to the leadership at the Exchange Club before, and again, I appreciate those who were able to attend and represent the town at that event. I would also like to congratulate Ms. Harris as she also helped represent the town at her sorority's event, Delta Sigma Theta. And so they're meeting for this region and representing Iredell County and Troutman. And so again, thank you for representing our town as a part of your sorority events as well. Election season is upon us, and so I would ask everyone to get out and vote and let your voice be heard at the ballot box. I think our next meeting official meeting will be just after the election. So again, thank you all for participating in the electoral process. And again, I think it's important. Please let your voice be heard. And lastly, I said on Monday, I appreciate the Troutman Fire Department for coming out to make sure I didn't have a gas leak at my house. I didn't want to show up on the news, but they were efficient and quick in making sure. There are times where they're probably underappreciated, and so again, just the peace of mind of having them to come out to my house, and I don't think they knew who I was, and they probably still don't. But again, I just appreciate their efficient process. And lastly, again, I will say we've got some events coming up. Look forward to hearing about some of those events, and ask all the citizens to come out and support the continued hard work and efforts of our town and our staff, making sure our town is safe and also a good place to live and play. So thank you for that. This time I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
We're going to Austin on staff reports first, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. The Public Works Department stayed steady providing services for the town. This included changing out mower blades on the Public Works zero-turn mowers and sharpening our spares to keep downtime at a minimum. Service both Public Works Kubota zero turns, also replace the deck belt, repair engine ground, and replace star solenoid on the snapper zero turn. Service public work trucks, 202, 204, 207, 208. Also, Troutman Police Department car 1314. Installed backup cameras on Public Works 205 dump truck. Installed tires on 209, and also pull behind generator that serves South Main, Rimmer Farm, and Iredell pump stations. Service and clean batteries on the golf cart to keep duct rolling. Tested and changed battery on TPD car 11. Diagnosed check engine light on TPD car 17 and repaired. On the wastewater side, we rebuilt rotating assembly for Streamwood Pump Station to ensure pumping in its maximum capacity. Rebuilt ARV at Westmoreland Pump Station. Replaced high water floats at Iredell, Avenue Fat Boys, and Barium Pump Stations. Repaired a few doors at a couple pump stations. Tightened various belts. Also cleaned out Fat Boys and Barium Wet Well. Installed a new sump pump and plumbed it in at the vault at Houston Water Tank. We made a sewer tap for a commercial building, 2 irrigation taps, and some other residences. Repaired a water leak, and while repairing, decided to renew the service and repair the clean out at the residence. We lowered a clean out, installed a traffic meter box at the residence where they are putting in a new driveway. Repaired manholes that were cracked and installed risers at Old Mountain Road and at the park. Duke Energy had a pole down on Wagner Street, which lost power for quite a few hours, and we worked with Troutman Police Department to put out detour signs until NCDOT came to detour traffic. We also took a generator to Quail Haven during that time to the pump station to ensure it had backup power until the power was resolved. A few miscellaneous things included ceiling tiles and some work at the passport office. Sprayed all the walking trails, replaced or consolidated 20 street signs, over 170 locates for 811, 88 water and sewer inspections, and installed 106 new meters. Thank you.
Any questions for us?
Did I hear you mention anything about seeding on the Greenway?
He's in the middle of that now.
But did you mention it?
I've not mentioned it.
That was thorough.
I'll wait until next month.
Okay, all right.
We're in October, so.
I saw him out there, so sorry.
I will mention the crosswalk signs that I told you we'd have done this last month. We don't have them done yet. As they came up, we looked into them. They were push button type, where each pedestrian would have to come up, push the button, and it was going to make it a little bit more difficult. We sent them back, and we're in the process of getting new ones that will be in the same locations where the crosswalks are now, and they're going to be blinking 24/7. So there will be no push button area. That's the reason those are not. As soon as they get here, they will be up.
Great. Okay, thank you.
We've been busy in the Parks and Recreation Department with a number of programs, continuing to host T-ball games on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings in the park, soccer and baseball practices, 8 teams a night down in the park, Bulldogs baseball as well as TYAA. We've hosted 2 Iredell County Middle School cross-country meets, so parking has been a nightmare around that block around there. That's because we've had hundreds of families for our cross-country meets. But that's been something new that we've done this year, but it's been pretty cool to be a part of that with the school system. Bluegrass jams, we've had 2 of those the past month. The group that normally plays at the library has come down, and in partnership with Troutman Chair Company, they've moved their bluegrass jams to here in the park. So families that were waiting for their children at practice came over and got to enjoy bluegrass music in the park. So we had some coffee trucks here, and dessert trucks, and so that was a success. Upcoming events, we have the Wicked Fast 5K this Saturday. It's our 7th annual. It's at 6 o'clock on Saturday night. Hoping the rain will hold off for us, but we're planning to go rain or shine within reason if it's not lightning or thundering. So The early packet pickup is tomorrow from 12 to 7 here in this room. So if you want to come get your things early, you can do that tomorrow. We also have, this year for the first time, we've partnered with the Rotary Club, a Halloween costume swap. So if you have a costume that you're no longer using, that you'd like to donate, or you'd like to come pick out a costume if you're in need of one, you're welcome to do that. Everything is free. You don't have to donate in order to pick out. You don't have to make any kind of purchase or anything. So we've got a ton of costumes. My office is flooded with costumes. Many people have gone out and purchased brand new ones, which is amazing. So all sizes, all types, even pieces of costumes. We've got brooms for witches. We've got wands. We've got all kinds of things. So costumes will be available until they're not. So we'll go until they're gone. And so we've had a lot of interest in that, and a number of phone calls and questions and Facebook feedback and those kind of things. So just a free service to the community. If someone needs a costume and maybe doesn't have necessarily the means to purchase one, or wants to, recycle, reuse, rescare, they can come pick out a costume. So that is tomorrow from 12 to 7, also in this room. So this room might be a little crazy, but this is the room we have. So we'll use it the best we can. So that's tomorrow here from 12 to 7. Wicked Fast, I didn't mention, but I want to mention that registration is still open and will remain open until go time. So up until 5 minutes before we take off running, you're welcome to still register. So that's runsignup.com. And that race will start at the depot downtown. So if anybody's interested in participating, we did add a 1 mile fun run this year as well. We've never done that, but we had some feedback from citizens that they wanted to add that for their children to be able to participate as well. So we added that. Trails and Treats on Halloween Day from 4 to 6. We have 50 businesses and organizations signed up to participate. So that's a great turnout already. So if you're interested, let me know. We'll sign you up and get you on the list. So we're excited about that. Christmas Parade, already accepting applications, got 30 already for that. So like you said, Christmas will be here before we know it. So if you are interested in participating in the Christmas Parade, also let me know, or go to the website and pull the application. Or you can come to Town Hall here and grab one, either way. And that's about all I have. So, thank you.
Ms. Watson, did you, just so that I'm clear, did you say the Wicked Fast, you have a 1 mile fun run?
Uh-huh.
That's only for kids?
No.
Okay, just want
It
to
was
clarify
just
that.
parents that requested for their children.
Okay, I just,
But there
thank
are
you.
adults
Thank you.
participating as well.
Okay, all right. I want to give others time to think about what they were going to say.
Others,
So
right,
just-
others.
Yeah. Thank you.
He was asking for a friend.
Yeah.
He's got this friend, right?
Yeah, thank you, Justin, appreciate that.
So for finance, we're in the process, still trying to wrap up our audit, so we're still working with the auditors as far as, writing up the financial statements. So December 1st is our deadline on that, so hopefully if they don't present in November, I believe they have 30 days after the audit is submitted, so they could present at the December board meeting, and it's still on time. So hopefully November, but if not, definitely December. So besides that, we're going through some processes with some software changes we'll have coming soon, some upgrades. So our meter reading process, which the two, Matt couldn't be here, but David was here. So David and Matt have been, reading meters for us since the previous employee retired. So as part of that process, we're going to Neptune 360, the cloud, what we talked about months back. And we were hoping to already have that going, but there's been some delay there. So hopefully within the next month or so, we'll have that so that they can kind of split up and both read at the same time, because with our software right now, it's kind of limited with the way they can do that. So that will make reading meters faster, which means Kimberly, our billing specialist, can get bills out faster, so there'll be less, delay there. So that'll improve that process. And then probably in January is what we're shooting for. we'll have a new accounting software in here that we talked about, 6, 7 months ago during our budget planning sessions. But it's called Smart Fusion, and so that'll make everything better in-house for us. That'll give us a lot more features and some cool geeky things that I get excited about, with software and computer stuff. But that should, streamline some processes for us and just improve on our efficiency. And so I'm looking forward to that. But with that said, there will be some growing pains, and I'm already, anticipating that. So come the first of the year, if I can just ask, town residents just to be patient with us, because there'll be a learning curve for sure. But it'll be better for everybody once we get that implemented. So besides that, that's all I've got, unless y'all got any questions.
Actually, I have a question for Emily, I'm sorry. I hate to put you on the spot, but the software that we purchased for Park and Rec, are our citizens going to be registering online?
Yep. So we're going to go live with that January 1st.
Oh, perfect.
So starting the month of December, there'll be a whole public training process for that. So we'll roll that out. It'll go on our website and our Facebook page. There'll be links along with instructions on how to start using it. We're going to have it in our newsletter and all that stuff. So we'll go live in January.
Perfect, thank you.
Also, I'm glad you did ask me another question. I forgot to mention we're partnered with the Rotary Club for the month of October to collect canned goods for our local food banks. So we're encouraging families to bring a canned good or multiple to Trails and Treats. So you think historically we've had 2,000 families to come through there, so that could really make large impact for the families that are in need for canned goods this holiday season. So if each family were to bring one can, which we're hopeful for, that could have the impact that we're looking for. So Trails and Treats and also Wicked Fast. So I'm going to have a bin at both events in October, and we're just encouraging families to bring, even if everybody just brought one can. So I did want to mention that. And it's been publicized, but I'm hoping to drive it home a little bit.
Yeah, the planning department, I think I say this every month, is that we've been busy. We do a lot of things. I know we come in here and we present rezoning cases to you guys, and then the work begins for us behind the scenes. We've received and we're processing 15 site plans this year. That's a lot for a town our size. I've worked for other towns that are smaller, and I don't know that I've ever seen that many come in 1 year. It's a lot. So we're processing and reviewing those plans. As far as permits are concerned, to this date of this year, we've issued 824 zoning permits. That includes commercial and residential, which is also a lot of permits. This month alone, we've issued 88 for September. COs, which are the final inspections that we do, more on new homes than anything else. We've done right at 400 new home inspections through September this year. Code enforcement, Shane has been with us right at a year. I think he started in September last year, so it has been right at a year. He has opened 465 code enforcement cases this year. He does a lot of different types of code enforcement cases. He does nuisance, which is tall grass, trash, things like that. He also follows up on complaints about junk vehicles, as well as minimum housing cases. And he also does any UDO violations. So that's what he's responsible for. So he's been very busy. Of those 469 cases, there's 54 that are still open. So he's being successful in getting people to bring things into compliance. Some people are more willing to do that. Some it takes a little bit longer, but we're working on it. So I just really appreciate the hard work that Andrew and Shane do for the town. We're very fortunate to have them working for us and on planning staff. Speaking of Andrew, he's in Durham tonight. He's got his presentation tomorrow morning at the APA conference. He'll be presenting our mobility plan, which we are still working on. Hopefully we'll have a final document to bring to you all, probably the first part of next year. I did want to mention that the third grade field trip that the planning department has been hosting the last couple of years, they've moved that to November, so we'll be doing that on the 9th. So that's the day of our next meeting, but I just wanted to mention that if any of you are interested, we would love to have you join us. So that's all.
Man, you mind sending a reminder email out about that, please? Thank you.
Yeah, and I assume that young man a year ago who proceeded to try to take over, has graduated to the 4th grade and it's closer to becoming the next mayor, so maybe I need to call him.
For the police department, in the month of September, we responded to 536 calls for service. And when you compare January through September of this year to last year, we've had a 44% increase in calls for service when compared, which that is to be expected as our population grows. Not all of those are necessarily crimes. It can be anything from an alarm, 911 hang-ups, cell phones, smartwatches is a big one we receive right now, to traffic crashes or parking complaints. During September, we had several incidents that resulted in precautionary lockdowns with different schools taking place. And those, just so the public knows, sometimes it's hard for us to, if we're all involved in the incident, for us to get on social media or some way to explain that, hey, the lockdown is not necessarily because there's something happening in the school, it's to protect the school. One of those incidents was somebody, Mooresville and the U.S. Marshals had gotten in pursuit with, and it was at Iredell Charter Academy near there. And then the other was Iredell, the middle school and the elementary school for Troutman due to the bank robbery that occurred. I'd like to commend our patrol officers. They were able to work really quickly together and had the suspect in custody very quickly. On Saturday, this Saturday at 9 o'clock at the Mazeppa Park in Mooresville, some of our officers, this year we, due to scheduling, didn't have enough officers to make our own team like we did last year, but they'll be combining with some officers from Statesville for a team for a softball tournament that benefits my sister's house for domestic violence victims. At the end of the month, on the 30th, Sergeant Bova and Officer Ashley Parker will be leaving to go to Scotland Neck, which is the South Carolina line. They'll start the 6-week canine handler training course with the dogs we've selected. Ashley's dog is named Scar. He's a German Shepherd, and she said that he reminds her of Scar in the movie The Lion King, his color and facial expressions. And Sergeant Bova's dog is Luca, and that's the name he came from Eastern Europe with. And he's a Belgian Mountain Law. And both dogs are full patrol dogs that will do tracking, narcotics detection, article searches, building searches, and handler protection.
Before I get into my normal commentary, I'd just like to address the comments from Mr. Kennedy. Typically, when we have folks to make us aware of situations, depending on what they are, is where I direct them to. And in this particular situation, we had already been contacted, and of course, due to the nature of what he is alleging, I had spoke with the police chief about that, and also the business owner and I today was talking about an unrelated matter, and he and I have discussed several things. As Mr. Shaw stated, he has been in contact with us a lot to try to correct anything that he hears from the community or the town to be in compliance. As far as what Mr. Kennedy's alleging or not alleging, or actually alleging, all I will say there is I would just recommend that all the community, if they have issues like this, I don't know that town council meetings are the proper forum for that type of discussion, because it can cause a whole lot of other issues. But anytime there's concerns in our community about any business or any illegal activity, the chief is always our online, and everything else is there for it to be made us aware so that we can investigate. We have investigated, which will go into my normal parts of my reports, similar to what Council Member Oxer said. A lot of times, and I'm borrowing a little bit of what you said, a lot of times our citizens truly don't know when they hear rumors in the community, such as traffic routing, and we certainly understand. I'm not being critical of the community, They don't understand. But when an incident happens, we have to respond, whether it be law enforcement, public works, or any other department here. And while we're doing that, as much as social media and everything else is out there, we cannot get certain information out to the public. And especially when we're assisting other agencies or jurisdictions or departments, such as whichever pole fell. A lot of us see a light pole, we think it belongs to Duke Power. Most of the poles that you see around town actually belong to AT&T, and I have no clue why that is. That's just the fact. So when one breaks, this is on a state highway. Our officers are showing up to help direct traffic, as did Public Works, but it's not one of those things that we did something wrong. We're trying to assist all the others so that all the citizens of ours and those driving through can get through safely. I wish there was some magic way that we could alert everybody and they would follow a simple map to get where they need to go, but that's just one example. As the chief also mentioned, when it comes to closing the schools down, immediately their concerns are for the safety of the children. And I appreciate his approach since he has been the chief, and all the officers that has worked for him. Any incidents that we have had, it's always, if there's been an error, it's to err on the side of caution to make sure that these children and the faculty at these schools are protected. I apologize to those that feel like we don't communicate better so that they feel good about the situation. But in times when you're looking for a fleeing suspect, you don't have time to stop to go get on social media to say, hey, we're all looking for so-and-so, and this is what he is alleged to have done. Second part I would like to mention is the 14 million that you all spoke about. There absolutely were a lot of the names that you mentioned that helped us, and I appreciate the mayor in particular with his relationships in Raleigh, and the council members that all took time to either make a phone call or go in person to Raleigh or some of the local areas where we was meeting the superintendent of education, whether it's the lieutenant governor, the various elected officials. You all have supported me when you tasked me with that to make sure we got on the funding list in Raleigh, and it takes a group effort, and because of that we were successful, but we couldn't have been without the lawmakers understanding firsthand what our needs were. So 14 million is a lot, especially for a town our size, but I am thankful that it got here. Also, and not to lighten our recognition of our employees, David and Mike, for the safety of them helping this child, but a lot of times all of our employees are constantly doing things on a regular basis. I wish I could recognize them more. The chief and I was even talked, and we've talked about it at our employee luncheons when we're noticing all of them who the employee of the month is. Most of our employees feel like it's just their job, and I'm really proud of them exceeding the goals or the limits of what they do. Right now, I'll use Parks and Rec, for example. As they were recognized earlier this year for building shelters at the ball field, we are constantly taxing our employees to do more than the norm. And compared to other municipalities, two rec departments in the county, all their rec department employees are more than the entire employee staff we have, including the police department. So just what we accomplish in the Parks and Rec with 2 full-time employees and part-time employees, and in getting ready to open up soon, we hope, the Parks and Rec location office, but getting some storage and things of that down there, it is truly amazing, the jack of all trades that they do. But David and Mac that day seeing this child, so many times people see that and they just assume it's not their place or their role. And for those two to stop is just characteristic of all of our employees. I think any employee we have would have done the same thing if they'd have been in those circumstances. But I do appreciate them doing it. I thank you all for recognizing them. One final thing I'd like to mention, and I'm not trying to draw ire with any law enforcement agencies, but as you hear the stats that the chief gives, I would just like to remind you all and everybody else, different people use statistics for different purposes. And when, as the chief said, we had to increase, that's fact. But I also would like to reiterate that the chief, through his policies, procedures, and training, and the officers that we have, we are more proactive with law enforcement now and actually documenting calls instead of telling officers not to take a report. And I appreciate that. So part of these statistical increases is the fact that from the chief down, they're being told to do your job, take a report when a report is necessary, and not file it so that your crime stats look better, so they went down. And I appreciate that fact. The bank robbery is a prime example. Our officers are out on patrol, and they were doing that in our town and was able to respond quickly to a major crime. But of all the things we hear that get blown up publicly, that one came and went, except for some disgruntled parents not knowing why the schools was locked down. But I do appreciate what they do. And again, the stats can say whatever you want them to say, but if you look at all the reasons why a stat is, if nothing has changed, then a stat from year to year has more meaning if your crime increases. And as the chief said, a lot of this, some of it is with growth, but a lot of it is also transients from other communities coming through Troutman that we're getting caught now because we're being proactive. And if they make an arrest now, that leads to a report, and it's not been that long ago that was not happening. So I appreciate that. I'll be glad to answer any other questions that you all have, and that's my final report.
Mr. Manager, one thing we tout the 14 million, but we left out the 2.3 that we got last year. If you may remember the 1 point, I think it was 1.6, and then the roughly 600,000 loan, very low interest loan.
Definitely, Mayor Pro Tem, and your history serving with the town, we have looked. 2 years ago, we got our first award of a little over close to $2.5 million total for the ARC-type infrastructure projects. Then last year, it was in 3 different pots, but we got $1 million from the state budget, and then $1 million from DEQ, a little over $1 million, and then a loan. So yes, sir, and thank you for pointing that out. But again, it goes, when Jeff McNeely was our representative, he championed the first year, as did Senator Sawyer in particular, but for 3 years in a row, for us to get money back to back is good. But it's the first time we've got them. But as the mayor said, the 14 million kind of trumps 3 times all the other years combined.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Thank you, Ms. White, number one, for addressing some of the questions for Mr. Kennedy and the responses from Cedar Stump. And again, hopefully, again, if there's other questions or comments that need to occur, please run those through Mr. Wyatt and or our chief. And chief didn't want to overlook really all the good work that the officers have done really over the last, really since our last meeting, at least, me being here. And the reports, we hear about them. They're not going unnoticed. And again, I think to Mr. Wyatt's comment, we've got a lot of people, we're called the crossroads for a reason. And we're still the crossroads, and in many cases, there are folks who are coming into our town that, may be passing through and still doing some illicit things. And so, again, appreciate the officers and what they do every day and protecting our community, our kids, and keeping our community safe. So, again, I appreciate Mr. Wyatt shedding a bit of a light on that. So thank you for that. At this time, council, if there are no other comments for staff, is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make that motion, sir. We go into closed session.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Who all do we need?
We will need our clerks and the town attorney. Everybody else is excused.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, we'll go into closed session.